Hey everyone, welcome to All Things Iceland. It's Jules and I am out here on this lovely beach on Seltjarnarnes, which is a peninsula right outside of downtown Reykjavik where I live. And behind me with the mountains and the ocean is a lot of seaweed that's washed up on the shore. And I think it's a really beautiful background, in my opinion, of like these different vibrant colors. And today I wanted to share about what I love when it comes to living in Iceland, because this place has a lot to offer, in my opinion. But also to add, I plan on doing a video coming up after this one about what I hate about living in Iceland. Both of those words, love and hate, strong words, take them with a big grain of salt. It just basically explains about what I like a lot and maybe things that I really dislike. All right, starting off though, for sure, and one of the reasons why I came out here to do this video in nature is because I absolutely love Icelandic nature. It is so beautiful, and one of the main things that helped to draw me in when I first was introduced to this country is the nature. As I traveled around the country and have gotten to know it, I have fallen more and more in love with the place every year because I get to see even more places, meet even more interesting people, and learn things about Iceland that just make this place so fascinating to me. Especially since we've had volcanic eruptions and all of these different types of activities that have happened that just leave me in absolute awe. One thing though that I have taken on after moving here is hiking, and I love doing that so much because it gets me out in, of course, this gorgeous nature, clears my mind, the fresh air. Oh my gosh, this is so lovely, especially on a day like today where there's hardly any wind. It's super calm. Yes, it's chilly, but at the same time, it doesn't feel that cold because you don't have the wind kind of like making it feel so much colder than it is. And of course, for those who've ever seen pictures of Iceland and who have visited themselves, you probably feel the same way about the nature because it is that stunning, and I recommend checking it out, coming for a visit. And the variations in the nature are really fascinating to me. Like I mentioned, there's volcanoes, there are glaciers, there are black sand beaches, there are places that look like Mars, places that look like the moon, amazing waterfalls. There's just so much here. The Icelandic highlands, deserts, and really cool aspects that just make it so varied everywhere that you go in the country that you, in my opinion, never get bored because there's just so much to explore, and it changes throughout the seasons. So if you come in summer, or if you come in winter or spring or fall, you get different aspects of Iceland that maybe you didn't get to experience in another season when you visited. Just keep in mind that these are not in any particular order, so I'm just talking about the things that come to mind. And family and friends for sure are one of the reasons why I love Iceland. Of course, I'm married into an Icelandic family who have been absolutely lovely, and I have made friends here, so having community has been amazing. And my friend group is varied in that it is made up of people who are native to Iceland, meaning they're born and raised here, and there are individuals who are of foreign origin who have come and live here and been here, some of them way longer than me. I mean, up to or more than 20 years of living in the country, which I find so cool. And hopefully one day I'll be one of those people talking about, I've been living in Iceland for 20 years. But I love the community, and I love that I've met so many different interesting people. In New York City, of course, there are so many different types of people, so it was interesting to me when I came here realizing that there's a lot more of different cultures than I was aware of. Not to say that it's anywhere compared to the amount of cultures that you can find in New York City or other big cities in Europe or around the world. It's just that I'm surprised to have found people who are from Kenya, people who are from Brazil, who are from so many different parts of the world, their life experience, and I get a chance, of course, to learn from them, and we get to share beautiful community and stories and adventures together, and I absolutely love that. And with family, I've gotten the opportunity to be introduced to so many Icelandic traditions, especially when it comes to like Christmas and Easter, all these big holidays that Icelanders really delve in and just have an amazing time regarding the foods, the candies, the sodas, the celebrations. On New Year's Eve, for instance, there's like huge fireworks and traditions that just go along with that day and bringing in the new year. So my love of Iceland has really grown every time that I've gotten the chance to interact with my Icelandic family and of course with my friends, because I get different takes on Iceland and I get to share my take on Iceland as well with all of you, but with them too, because sometimes they're just really curious to know how I feel about living here, and clearly I love it. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't be doing All Things Iceland if I didn't. But also being part of community, I think in general, helps anyone to feel more integrated into a society, and that has helped me 1000%. Next up is that I feel very creative in Iceland, and I actually chalk this up to the fact that moving to another country, another place that is so different than where I grew up, has allowed me the opportunity to really come into my own. And a part of me that maybe wanted to express themselves differently in New York, which I know it might sound interesting actually, because in New York you can really be whatever you want. But when your family is there, when your friends are there, and you kind of like solidified or seemingly solidified like who you are and people know you as a certain way, it can feel a little bit hard to break out of that. And so I feel like with Iceland, it gave me the opportunity to come and really just like explore what I'm interested in, what I want to express to people, and really look at creative aspects of myself. It helps a lot that in this country, a lot of people are super creative. They might be, you know, CEO of a company, but also play a guitar in a rock band or something, or are a chef but love to paint. You know, there's like different aspects, and it isn't considered different or strange to have these types of hobbies that you're really invested in here, or doing these artistic endeavors. There are a lot of creative people in general in Iceland that's their career too. So I feel like it's just in the air to be creative here, and I've definitely inhaled that in and run with it in my own way, and that has been really fun for me to be able to just express my creative side, different aspects of myself, and also expand upon who I am foundationally. So of course at my core I am Jules, I am me, but now I've got a chance to build on to that and have different experiences that have helped me to grow in ways that I never would have imagined would be possible due just to like living in another country, having to adapt, and allowing myself to the freedom to do this, to explore, and just to see what else is out there for me that would be of interest and run with that. So because of that, I normally, if people ever have the chance to move abroad or are thinking about it, I say definitely look into it, and if it's a possibility, try it out, because it might also help you to learn things about yourself and expand yourself in ways that you never would have imagined. And plus, there's really great stories that you'll have for the rest of your life. Another thing that I love about living in Iceland has to do with healthcare. So it is not free in that I go to the doctor and I pay nothing. It is heavily subsidized. I mean, granted, we pay a lot of taxes, but the whole point is that, you know, a lot of this money goes back into paying for services like your healthcare, and I'm very grateful for that. And I'm definitely comparing this to the United States, so depending on where you live, this may or may not resonate with you, but knowing that I can go to the doctor and pay a very low fee to be able to see somebody, and for the most part, the services here are not going to bankrupt you. So having a baby, I think, is a prime example that I use when I talk about this, because having a baby in Iceland is so inexpensive. But in the United States, there are people who literally have to take out loans or file for bankruptcy because of procedures that needed to happen just in order to have a baby, this natural process that happens. And it's sad to me that this is the case. And I feel very fortunate knowing that the place that I ended up moving to, which honestly, people ask me a lot if I had ever planned on moving here. This was not my plan in life. If you told me over 10 years ago I was going to move to Iceland, I probably would have laughed. But the fact is, this is where I live, and that is a part of it, and I'm very grateful for that. And I love that this is available, and I want this for everybody, honestly, in terms of wherever they live, to have affordable healthcare, because it's so crucial to our societies, and it's so crucial for our well-being as well. Just knowing that you are covered is important. Now, this is not to say that the Icelandic healthcare system is perfect at all. It definitely has things that need to be improved, and there are a lot of people who are working on those things, but it's a huge step up from where I'm coming from in regards to cost and availability to everybody. You know, like in the US, if you have a company that you work for and good health coverage, or if you're a freelancer and can afford to pay much more expensive healthcare coverage, then you're super fortunate. But that is not the case for everybody, as we know, and it's just you know, one of those things that I feel like that should be universal, but that's just my opinion. For Iceland, when you move here, so after 6 months of legally being in the country, you automatically get rolled into the healthcare system. So that process, in essence, is kind of taken care of for you. One really cool thing that I love about living in Iceland is that it's so easy to get around and to navigate. Now, granted, for people who are not used to roundabouts, that can feel a little bit strange, but there aren't that many of them where you have to worry. Granted, if people do want a video explaining about roundabouts and how, you know, it works in Iceland, I have no problem sharing that. But here, I just feel like if you're going to like travel around the country, which I've done several times, a decent amount of times by myself, first of all, I felt safe, which is important, but also the fact that there's one road that goes around the country, the majority of the country. There are, of course, other roads that you can go off on, but with Google Maps, it is so easy to navigate here. Like, it is not that difficult if you get off course to get back to where you needed to go or to ask somebody for help. For me, it's been so easy, and the only thing that might trip some people up is just how some things are spelled, because of course Icelandic is a language that most people are not familiar with, which fair enough, it's not spoken by that many people in the world. But I do love and have been relieved by the fact that once I started driving here, I was like, oh yeah, that's so easy to get to. It's like 20 minutes from here or like 2.5 hours there, but it's mostly one road, then you pull off on that other road and you're there, you know? And I think for people who are visiting, this is something that is quite nice because it takes the stress off of when you're driving, whether or not you're going to like have all these different routes and get lost. And for those who live here, of course, like myself, who have to get used to it, it ends up feeling like just a super familiar place because there aren't that many streets that you need to worry about, unless you're in like one of those towns like Vesturbæ, where like the streets kind of just do some wacky stuff, but that's just a very small part like Reykjavik that you really don't have to worry about. I do love that because as a person who probably frets too much about where a place is and like Google mapping and whatever, I have just become so familiar with places that I'm like, oh yeah, it's there on this street, and I'm like, wow, that was so much easier than I thought. And I love just like traveling around because I feel like it's just so easy for me to know where I'm going. Let me know in the comments if you've been to Iceland. What do you love about it? Are there any things that are surprising that you heard me say that I love about Iceland? Feel free. I love chatting with people down below. Also, if you're interested in getting a lopapeysa like the one that I'm wearing, I have a link to a shop down below where you can get one of your own. They're really awesome, and of course winter is coming up, so these will keep you really warm, and they're also a great gift for yourself or a loved one. If you've enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and share it with somebody who you think would find it helpful or interesting. And as I mentioned, I'm going to be making a video about what I hate about living in Iceland, so make sure that you're subscribed and you hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on that video and other awesome content coming up. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.